What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's time for another video. The Eden season is over and you already know what's coming. It's time to do a review on it and break it down to see what happened, why it happened, and how does that benefit you for your next Eden season. Now, I know I haven't been posting a lot lately. The reason behind it is gonna be explained in other videos. I want to stick to the subject, and this one is just for the Eden season. So to make sure not to miss out on the future videos where I'm gonna be talking about a lot of stuff, make sure to stay subscribed to the channel if you're not already. And with that said, let's get straight to it. So if you've been following my previous videos, you already know at the beginning of this Eden season we had a bit of a trouble, and that comes from the matchup of the alliances on the map. We were supposed to start with a specific matchup, which was hard enough as it was, but then something happened. Whether it was from the developers themselves, whether it was player intervenes, I don't know, but we got swapped in the alliance that was supposed to be on the map and that kind of started up a merry-go-round of a lot of bad things that influenced the entire season. Now, because of the entire swap of alliances, a lot of players in Invictus were pretty pissed off. And there was actually the suggestions that we're gonna be skipping this season, so not participate at all, just develop our specialty and wait for the next one, in response to the stupid way the developers managed the entire map. Now, even though the majority in Invictus were of this idea, the leadership, or pretty much, I don't know, I don't remember who exactly decided, but it was decided that in the end we're gonna continue with the season. Now, even though we decided that we're gonna be continuing with the seasons, a lot of players didn't like the idea, didn't want to accept these changes, and ended up quitting the game, selling their accounts. Most notably, a player called Hell. For anybody that doesn't know it, he was one of the top spenders, and that's a very light thing to say about him, because I can even go as far to say he was the spender of the game. So that player had literally anything you want to have in an account. Besides that, he was a very active player and very crucial to the success of Invictus. Besides him, also other players did the same thing. Now, this influenced the seasons in two ways. First of all, we lost one of the strongest player in our alliance, together with him a few others, and more importantly, it also damaged the morale, for the fact that a lot of us, if not the majority of us, already wanted to not participate in the season. Even though the decision was made that we should go with it, the motivation wasn't there. So that's pretty much how we went into this Eden season, and that didn't help in the long term. Now, besides that, I can say that the lacking of the top spenders in our alliance also hurt us pretty bad. I can say that specifically from our encounters with XK Alliance, because we had them last season and the season before that and so on. So it was pretty easy to compare how the alliance is now to the previous seasons. Now, again, before I get the comments and all that, I'm not trying to discredit XK Alliance. They are a very powerful alliance, good strategy, very active players, and a lot of spenders. But because we went against XK, I can also give my personal opinion about Invictus and how the performance went against them. And I could feel the fact that even though in the previous seasons the battles was fierce, it was still a battle, this season it just felt like a swipe. Like I feel like every time XK was trying to advance, and it's not about bad organization or anything, we had all the markers, we had the players there, we had the legions going left and right, we just couldn't stop them. They kept on advancing anytime they wanted, and that just goes from the fact that this game is a pay-to-win game. If you're playing at the top level, if you don't have the same amount of spenders and top players in your alliance as the enemy, you're just gonna lose, at least at the face-to-face confrontation. Now, besides all that, because it wasn't just that, and I don't want Invictus to jump on my head saying, oh, you're attacking our leadership again, there were a lot of other things going on. One of them you probably seen with my short video that I've posted regarding gate swaps, and we kind of encountered those type of problems a lot. Not to say that our support guilds didn't give their all or they didn't try, but still, when it comes to gate flips, it's not a matter of which alliance or which guild is stronger. It's just a matter of who is going to hit the gate in the end. And the more people active hitting the gate, the bigger the chances you have to take it. So even though it was XK against a secondary guild, all they need to do is hit the gate the last before XK does, and that's it. So if you don't have a support guild that is active, that has a lot of players, especially for those important gates or objectives, you're just gonna be swept away. So the same as it was with tiles, that we couldn't hold XK on the right side and they kept up advancing and cleaning us out, we also had the issue with the gates, because if you don't get to flip the gates, then they just gonna take it and will always have that contact point to advance tiles in your territory. So you have to move further away and therefore lose the advantage against the attacker. And that really hurt us throughout the season. We had a great start when it comes to the sides, but then the moment all the first objectives were taken and XK started advancing and the next reset came and the next reset came, they just kept on moving forward to the point where they pretty much kicked us out from the right side and we were stuck with left. Now in the meantime, we were having good results on the left sides against TQ, but still it could have been better. The fact that we were losing so fast and so much ground against XK really hurt us and took away our advantage. On the top side, Boss pretty much had the party, because XK again was focused firstly on us and we were focused on them. So Boss was fighting with the TQ, I'm just gonna call them TQ, okay? And if you compare the two alliances, then you probably gonna understand that they kind of mopped the floor with them. So that was not a surprise. Boss is a strong alliance. They have a lot of spenders. They have a lot of strong, experienced players. And well, let's not even talk about the amount of troops they have, considering how old that alliance is. So while Boss was taking advantages in the east side with tech, we were fighting against XK. When Boss turned their focus on XK, then we started gaining grounds on XK ourselves, because they couldn't focus on two sides in the same time. Thankfully, our support guild was doing pretty good against TQ. Jesus Christ, this is gonna be a long video. Against TQ. So we kept on our advantages on that side. We've gotten to the point where the capitals in the center open up, and that's pretty much where everything went from it can still be done to this is lost. Because we kind of found ourselves to the point where I just remember that one gate where we were preparing to flip it, and you had tiles from XK, you have tiles from Boss, and you had tiles from TQ. So all three factions were magically sitting together next to each other. Nobody was touching nobody, waiting for our gate. So the moment you have three factions against you, there's no chance. I mean, yes, you can flip a gate, you can flip an objective, but you will never win 1v3 no matter what guild or alliance you have, because you're just never gonna have the stamina, and you're never gonna have the troops, and so on. And that was like the last nail in the coffin for Invictus. Like the low morale, the intense fighting, the lack of spenders, and then that happened. It was kind of the end. So we got into the point where our leadership accepted the reality of things, because it was what it is. It was what it was. Yes. And just surrender towards XK. Like that, XK could leave us alone, they could focus on boss, and we can focus on TQ. Because to make it even worse, boss, after beating the hell out of TQ, made a deal with them, so they let boss pass through their faction without interference, while helping them into I don't know what the exact deal was. All I can tell you is that TQ agreed that boss can do whatever the hell they want, and by agreed, well, they didn't really have a choice. So then BQ ended up on the TQ side, hitting us from there, while XK was on the right side. It was a complete nightmare, to be fair. This is the one thing that you do not want on this type of Eden, where you have 2 or more factions hitting you in the same time, because you just can't handle it. Overall, we surrendered towards XK, we surrendered towards boss, and we just focus on TQ. But at that point, it was just too late. If we would have done it earlier in the season, we would have definitely beat TQ, because we did dominate them throughout the season. But at that stage, the morale was down, the troops were down, nobody had any interest in fighting anymore. And even though TQ stayed active trying to defend against us, no offense to them, but the reason why we didn't advance and didn't take the objectives and move towards the faction was because our players didn't care anymore. The participation in all the objectives that we had against TQ afterwards was lacking really bad. Like, comparing it to what we had at the early stages of the season or the mid-season, with the TQ, it was a point where nobody really cared anymore. The season was over, the fighting was over, and whatever the rank 3 or 4 it was irrelevant for the Invictus players, and you could feel that in the way everybody was playing. But with that said, in the end, Invictus ended up in rank 4, so the last faction, and by Invictus I do talk about our entire faction. We ended up rank 4, TQ rank 3, XK rank 2, and boss as rank 1. I want to say congratulations to everybody. With the worst results I ever had in an Eden, I can also say this was one of the more interesting Eden season I ever had, because there was so much fighting, because we were against top guilds and top alliances, and there was so much going on. I'm really sad that Invictus was not at the top level to give XK and boss the fight that they deserve. Not to say that we would have won like that or not, but it would have definitely been way more intense than it ended up being in the end. But overall, I'm pretty happy of how the season went. It was a fun one. I enjoyed it, me personally at least, excluding a few moments here and there, but overall it was a good one. With this in mind, I will also be doing a video talking a bit about hero combinations that I've encountered the most throughout the season, what players like to use, why they like to use it, what counters are good for them. So make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed, or if you are subscribed, click the notification button to not miss out on that video where I'm gonna be discussing all the top hero combinations at this moment. I will also be posting a video talking a bit about the channel and the future of the channel, pretty soon, so make sure to stick around and not miss out on anything. But with that said, if you enjoyed the content, leave a like. Thanks again for joining in, guys, and I'll see you in the next videos.